So good morning, everybody. It gives me great pleasure to announce our speaker today, Carol Lethin, the co-director of the Temecula chapter of Royal Family Kids Camp. John, would you like to read her bio? They sent us her bio. Do you have her bio? I don't have that. Marty, do you have her bio?
Yes, Well, I won't read the whole thing probably because she's going to tell quite a bit about it herself. But John has been very active in the past. I know for sure because somebody else has talked to us about Royal Family Kids, and they transform communities by interrupting cycles of neglect, abuse, and abandonment of children in foster care system. It's very important. We fulfill our mission by providing an array of programs all directed toward changing the trajectory of young lives, which usually include a combination of academic failure, drug abuse, teen pregnancy, sex trafficking, homelessness, and incarceration. Wow. Carol got involved with Royal Family in 2005 through her church. And since then, she's been a staff member. She ran the music department and activity centers. Oh, the music department. Oh, that's good. Good to hear. I like that. If she wasn't at camp, she helped with registration for camp and everybody's birthday party. Last year, she and her husband, Jeff, became directors for the Temecula chapter of RFK, adapting to the COVID-19 that prevented camps and mentoring programs by directing an effort to provide camp in a box to the several foster kids in the Temecula Valley. And so there's a little note, this month is the kickoff month for volunteer applications for the summer programs. So I'm sure that Carol will tell us a lot more about it. And so we welcome you, Carol. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Okay, John's going to play a little quick thing.
Every year, many kids in Kern County flock to different camps around the area, but for a group of kids we spent time with, a week in the mountains is their only escape from a difficult life.
Dear God, thank you for life, camp, and everything.
Dear God, I just want to let you know that I love you for loving me even though through these tough times I've been through.
Dear God,
they give kids the best, most funnest experience week they've ever had in their life.
As the sun rises over Fraser Mountain, a new day begins at Royal Family Kids Camp. Nestled in the mountains above Bakersfield, miles away from memories and moments these kids would rather forget.
Every time you come to camp, your heart breaks a little bit more for what these kids have gone through.
Every year, dozens of volunteers put their lives on hold for the opportunity to build into these kids what years in the foster care system has stripped away.
Because of fun stuff that we do.
Since leaving camp last year, Isaac has moved to more than 15 homes, something his counselor and 8-year veteran Russ Unruh says hasn't changed his spirit.
I think the first thing that somebody might think is that he's a bad kid or that nobody wants him. He's a great kid. He needs to feel like somebody cares and somebody loves him and wants to nurture that goodness in him.
But many admit that's not easy to do. With more than 1,600 kids in Kern County living in foster care and more than 40 cases of abuse and neglect reported each day, finding hope within the system can be a difficult thing.
It's just really hard to just know that they're going back.
But it's what keeps Janesi Barajas coming back to camp year after year.
And I just had to reach out and say, continue loving each other, protect each other, like be there for each other because there's nobody else out there protecting them and nobody else loving on them. And all they have is each other.
The experiences that the kids have here,
It's every memory has been a good one. I haven't had one single bad one.
really do make a difference in their lives.
Why I like Royal Family Kids Camp.
Feelings that are reflected in letters campers write during their special week.
We get to spend time with our counselors who love and enjoy us having in the cabin. Every cabin, it's new every year.
what I like about Royal Family Kids Camp, they make me feel at home. They play games.
It's awesome that you blessed me and let me come to camp.
And the people here are better than home.
I love them
And counselors say this week is really about teaching these campers how to be kids again.
We know that they're just empty on love from safe adults who just genuinely just want to love them the way Christ loves them. They're strangers, but we just love them as if they were our own. Like, it's the strangest and coolest thing at the same time.
Strangers answering the call to change one life at a time.
I had a really good time, and I'll miss you guys.
And on a personal note, my wife and I have been volunteering at Royal Family Kids Camp now for 5 years. It's what's opened my eyes to heartbreaking and heartwarming stories that make up the lives in foster care in our county. If you would like to get involved, and they really do need your help, the camp is operated by donations only and volunteer hours. To learn more about Royal Family Kids Camp, head over to our website, turnto23.com. We've put a link there where you can sign up or give financial.
Thank you, John. So that gives a little introduction to some of the activities that we do at camp. Temecula itself, we've been in operation since 2015. So this will be our 16th camp. Last year, because of COVID, we did duffel bags and backpacks, and we filled them up with a bunch of goodies, and we brought them to the kids' homes and dropped them off. And at Christmas, we did a drive where they got gifts and food for the family, money for the family, stockings full of stuff. And we did a drive-through. So at least the kids got to see their counselors. They got to see some of the people. Right now, we have over 252 chapters across the United States and abroad. We do have some in Africa and the UK and a bunch of other places. But these kids that are in foster care, it's always bad, but with COVID, it's been a lot worse because now they're stuck in their homes. So at least at school, they can get out of their homes for a few hours a day. And what we do is on Monday, we get to camp on Saturday, just do some training, some building exercises to get us prepared and our hearts prepared. But Monday, the kids come and we just make this huge scene. You know, the buses pull up and we've got the balloons and there's signs and we're screaming and the kids get off the bus, and it's just an amazing thing for us to see their faces and them to see us. And we just try to love on them as best we can for the whole week. We make sure that they're well fed, which is some of the kids are not. We make sure that they feel loved. We make sure that they are getting 100% of time. And we start these kids at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we don't put them to bed until 9:30 at night. So we're constantly doing things with them. We do have, everything's volunteer. And I always tell people it is the hardest week in your entire life, but it is the best week of your entire life because you actually do see the transformation in these children. We always talk about the story of the one, and that is the one personal interaction you have with a certain child. I remember a couple of years ago, we always pray before we eat, and all the kids are like, pick me, pick me. They want to be the one to pray. And this little girl just sat there and said, thank you, Lord, for this food, and thank you for this camp and these people, and that we get to come here and feel loved, and we know that we're safe, and just thank you for keeping us safe and letting us know that Jesus loves us and that these people love us. We were just like, we were all sad because when do we ever pray about being safe? And these kids are coming to this camp with all these strangers that they've never met before, and they're giving this statement saying they feel safe. That boggles my mind. But some of these kids have, like Isaac, who had been hopped around so many times. We've had children who were 6 years old that had been in 15 different foster care systems, homes, since they were 5. The stories that we hear are heartbreaking. But that makes us want to do more. It makes us want to pull these kids in more because they need to know that they can overcome their circumstances. They need to know that their life moving forward doesn't have to be the life that they've already lived and experienced. And we've got some of those tough kids. We had a little girl, 6 years old, and she was like this big. She was the tiniest little girl who's had a a life we don't even want to get into. But that child was so determined that she was going to not give up. I mean, we do zip lining with them, and the rungs are like this big, and her legs were like this big, and she hopped up the rungs because nobody was going to push her back. Just the determination in some of these kids. We've also had the opposite, that they're sitting there saying, nobody loves me, nobody wants me, nobody. We've had issues where the kids were being adopted and they're like, oh, they're not taking me because they love me. They want my sister. They don't want me. You know, so we do have this 1 week just to share our hearts and our time. But it is all volunteer. We show up, like I said, on Saturday. Our camp is from June 19th to the 25th this year. The kids come from the 21st to the 25th. And we do have, unfortunately, you guys are busy on the 27th, but we do have our kickoff on the 27th. And this is an opportunity for people who want more information about camp to come to the church, and we show a video, we talk, we give instruction, we let them know what to expect. We do have 12 training hours that we have to do prior to camp to make sure that everyone's prepared. But we are asking if any of you guys know of anybody, or you yourselves want to get involved and you can't do a full week camp. If you can, that's great. We have counselors, and they are one-on-one with the kids. Each counselor is assigned 2 children, and they're with them the entire week. But we also have staff members that come alongside the counselors, and we're their support. If you cannot come for a week, we throw this huge birthday party on Thursday, and that way every child gets a gift. They get the whole experience of this is just the day for you. So we need volunteers for the birthday party. Monday, when we do registration, get all the kids to the camp so we can get them, together. We need helpers on Monday morning for a couple of hours. On Friday, when we get the kids back from camp, we need people to help unload the buses, get the kids organized. So if you have any time anywhere between the whole Monday through Friday spectrum, we would love to have you and have your support. This year, things are obviously different. Normally we ask for a lot of, we have to ask for donations. Obviously we ask for prayer, because that's the biggest thing that gets us through, the only thing that gets us through, and the support from each other. But we're also asking for donations of masks and hand sanitizer and gloves, because this year is going to be a very odd year for us. Providing, our biggest prayer right now is that the social workers will allow us to take the children, because if they don't let us take them out of the homes, then we're going to end up doing like just a day camp. So they'll come to the church and we will do like something each day of the week, which is better than nothing, but it's just not the same. The kids really need that week away from their families. They need that week to recharge their batteries, and they just need that week to feel like a kid again. But we do need the volunteers, and we do need the staff, and if you guys have any way of helping, or you have people that you know that would want to do this, or if you yourself want to do this, John's going to have a link on your webpage to sign up for being a counselor or a staff member, and he'll have our phone number, so that way if you want to get involved with the birthday party or something, the registration or the welcome home. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I have a question. Though we're in COVID, you're being allowed to have your camp?
As of right now, the social workers are very not positive, but very hopeful, and they feel that some of the kids in the districts will be released into our custody. because basically that's exactly what they have to do. They have to give us the custody, but we've got a lot of guidelines that we have to follow. That's the face masks and everything else. Normally we have 11 kids in a cabin. We're only going to have 6, just to make sure that we're getting the social distancing. We're not allowed to do the zip line this year because of how close you have to get when you do the harness and everything. We're not allowed to eat in the cafeteria, so the food's going to have to be served and we're going to have to go eat outside. So there's a bunch of guidelines in place this year, but the campground has been allowed to open. And as long as the campground's allowed to open and the county will allow us to take the children, then we are going to follow every guideline we have to just to make sure that we can get these kids there.
Where's your camping?
This camp that we go to is in Pine Valley, California. It's at the Pine Valley Christian Conference Center. There's a lot more churches in California that are doing camps this year, and they're really all over. There's some that don't have the option of having like a campground itself. There's some that are run out of college campuses, and wherever they can do a camp, they figure out a way to do a camp.
How many kids are in the camp for that week?
Every chapter is different. Traditionally, the first year we took only 20 kids, but the past years we've had 85 kids. We can only take as many kids as we have counselors for and staff members because we are very, very diligent. John test. There's 2 sets of eyes at all times. These kids are never, ever left alone with an adult. And we've had adults be like, I'm not going to do anything. It's like, no, this is for your protection too. So we have to make sure that we have the staff and the volunteers needed to actually run the camp. We are planning on only taking 40 kids this year, providing we have the staff members, only because we're sticking, like I said, 6 in a cabin as opposed to 11, because we only have so much space if we're going to minimize that. So we're looking to bring 40 kids.
Are they from the Temecula area?
We deal with the 5 surrounding counties. We have a lot from Temecula Valley. We have a few from San Diego County, a couple from San Bernardino County, and a couple from Orange County and Riverside. But I would say out of those 40, we're probably going to have about 25%, 30% from the Temecula Valley.
Okay.
But this year, I have to say, it depends on which districts open up, because just because Riverside might allow us to have the kids, Temecula might not, because they're going by the schools and finding out what the counties themselves, their guidelines are. So some of the counties might release kids, some of them might not.
Carol, is this a Christian camp with Christian instruction?
We cannot technically, even though the churches are, Royal Family is traditionally run out of churches, it is a faith-based camp. So these kids do get Bible stories. Every child receives a Bible. We do, we have something called Royal Court where we do a drama at night. And one of the dramas might be the story of Joseph. The other one might be the story of Moses. And we always do like a devotional. So it is a faith-based. They are learning about God. They're learning that, you know, God can help them overcome anything and he's always with them. But we cannot technically call it a Christian camp. We say it's faith-based.
Okay.
Do these kids, this is a one-time deal for these kids?
No, they're allowed to come for 5 years. Again, we've always been traditionally ages 7 to 11. They're really good ages. They're appropriate ages. A couple of years ago, they opened it up from 6 to 12, so they could technically come for 7 years. But we have the option of only bringing 7 to 11, and we've chosen to do that moving forward because we find the 6-year-olds are a little bit too young, and unfortunately, the 12-year-olds are a little bit too old, and they've already. It's just not a good mix to have a 6-year-old and a 12-year-old in the foster care system in one camp.
What month?
Our camp runs in June. We always go during like the Father's Day week. So it is going to be from June 19th to the 25th. But camps run all summer from the day schools get out till the day they go back.
Is there any particular church that sponsors it?
This particular chapter is sponsored by Crossroads Church Temecula.
What, Temecula, I'm sorry?
Crossroads Church Temecula sponsors this one, but Crossroads Corona has camps. Gosh, there's camps all over, but there's camps everywhere from Lancaster First Assembly has camps. There's a couple out of Brea area. Cornerstone has a camp, so just depends. I mean, right now we've got hundreds of thousands of kids in the foster care system. And unfortunately, even with 252 camps, we are still only reaching about, I think the average was 17% of the kids.
Wow. Does anybody else have any questions for Carol? John?
Great. Thank you guys so much for having me and listening, and thank you, John, for setting this up.
I think John
Thank you, Cheryl.
Yeah, when John said his kids were 16 years old, I think they were 5 when I met them. So I was a little shocked when he said they were already 16.
So I just want to share a little anecdote. I still have my badge from the very first year I did it with the little starfish pin. This camp has impacted me. I want to say even more so than some of the kids that I've worked with at the camp. If you look on my Facebook page, it has an H with a circle and no sign over it, and that's from that first year at camp, and that's become a story for me. I went to another church out in Virginia Beach shortly after this camp, and I was just sharing about the camp. But at the church, there was a sign that says, "Jesus is our help, our hope, and our healer." And all the H's were really big. And I'm in this church just breaking down crying because I'm like, I'm no H. And I just felt like God was talking to me in that moment, like, hey, you don't have that hurt, that hopelessness. So you're going to go and bring it to these kids. So I changed my Facebook profile picture to that, to remind me daily that that's who I am, that's who I'm supposed to be. But this camp, like I said, this camp has impacted me. And Carol talked about that one, and one of my favorite stories, talking about the change that you see in 1 week. I saw it in 1 day. There was a little girl that was breaking down. She was cursing up a storm. She cursed me out. And I sat down next to her, and she told me how much she hated me. And I said, you know what? We're all here. We're all volunteering our time because we love you. And you can hate us all you want, but no matter what, we are here because we love you. The hate left for a second in her eyes, just for a second. And then it kind of came back, and then she calmed down. And then not 15 minutes later, she was saving me a seat in the auditorium, and she's hugging me, telling me how much she loves me. Oh. And I'm flowing. I'm like the floodgates are just going. And I'm like, wait a second, I got to stop this. And I thought you said you hated me. She goes, I still do, but I love you still too. So, I mean, this is kind of the logic, but that some of these kids have, but it's part of their reality, trying to, who do you trust? And being able to be there and just show them that, hey, we care about you. And that's why we're here. Because like I said, it impacts you probably more than it impacts the kids.
Yeah. When he said the starfish, we say the story of the one. I don't know if you've ever heard the story, but an old man was watching this little boy walking along the beach, and all these starfish had washed up, and he just picked one up, threw it back in, picked one up, threw it back in. And the old man said, what are you doing? You can't save them all. And the little boy picked up another starfish and said, I can save this one, threw it back in. And then, because reality is we have 40, we've got 80, we've got the last camp I trained at for my directors, there was 112 kids there. And we might only reach 5 of those 112. But if we can reach at least one, you know, and win and help them to overcome. It's, you know, we do what we can, and we just pray that it's enough.
Yes, indeed. Does anybody have any questions for Carol? Well, thank you so much, Carol, for giving us your time and speaking to our Rotary Club. You guys are doing amazing things in the community and for the kids. You're always welcome. And thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and thank you for all you guys do.